This is Bez with my wife Zemira. This is our first podcast. This is our little theme music going.
Yes.
And we're here. Let me lower this.
Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah.
That's the song's title. You can definitely stream it on your favorite platform. That's by us, Zemira and Bez.
Yes. So we're going to be doing podcasts going forward and talk about things that, husbands and wives talk about and deal with. Anything that can maybe other people could glean off of from the little wins and successes we've had in our marriage. Things that, we're still dealing with. We're still a young marriage with 10 years. So
10-year-old.
Yeah, so all right, so let's begin. And let's get our questions up. So our first segment is gonna be how we found the truth. So
And the truth is?
The truth is Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. When you look at John 14:6, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody cometh unto the Father but by me. So, how do we find the truth? You want to start with you?
No, you start. You came in the truth way longer before I did.
Yes, I did. I forget about that. Well, how did I find the truth? Well, it all started with 9/11, actually. Yeah, I was in college. I was in Manhattan at the time, and on 27th Street, and I literally watched the towers go down with my own eyes. So that was pretty surreal for me. And I think it did something to me to where I knew something was wrong in the world. I mean, I already knew things were wrong, but I didn't think to really bother to look at anything. I was just more concerned about the goals that I had as a young man. Wanting to be an animator, wanting to, let me see, I don't know, this mic is getting rubbed on. My beard is rubbing on it too much. Maybe I could put it on my headphones. Let me see. Yeah, it's better. So, I was more focused on my goals as a young man, trying to be an animator and an illustrator, graffiti artist and whatnot. I was interested in music at the time. And so, I was making little beats on my own at home with Fruity Loops like every other person. And I was, at the time, I had dropped out of college. It was about 2005. So 2001, 9/11 happened. Was it 2001, 2000? 2001, right? I think it was 2001. And so about 2005, I found myself, I stopped going to college. I was back in my own neighborhood. And I was in a store one day, and I met a music engineer. So, he told me he did music engineering. I told him I designed album covers and I developed merchandise. And so he invited me to his recording studio. So I went to his recording studio, and I was going in the hopes of learning how, to produce music, learn how all that stuff works, and, get in there. Because at that time, it wasn't like now where you could buy plugins and you could buy all these things and get that sound quality. You had to be around like the engineering equipment, the big systems. So he had a nice system in his house. He had a big mixing board and all this stuff. And in a conversation one day with him, we were talking about 9/11 and a documentary called Loose Change. And I had access to the guys that made the documentary. So in the conversation, he says something. He says the Taino Indians are in the Bible. That's what he told me. He said the Taino Indians are in the Bible. And I asked him to prove it. And he took me to 2nd Ezra 13. And then he showed me some stuff online in the Jewish Encyclopedia. And it wasn't a lie. It was actually true. So that sent me down a path like a rabbit hole, and I just started digging and digging and digging. And about a year later, the same guy that had taught him stuff he introduced me to him, and then he brings me to some new guy that he met, and I started going with them on Wednesdays to the guy's house for like Bible studies and stuff, and the rest is history. Like from there, I started keeping the commandments after I started attending those Bible studies, and I haven't stopped since. So that was really how I found the truth. Yeah, and so it took a bit for me to really conform and change. You know, I still was stuck in my ways for a couple years, and I would say it was about maybe 2 years in, almost 3, where I really hunkered down on keeping the commandments. You know, started putting fringes on my clothes, avoided all the pagan holidays and all that stuff. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's how I found it. Yeah, that's how I found Christ. You know, found him in the scriptures, and that's been my life ever since. Yeah. So.
I'll praise the Most High.
So when did you first hear about the truth?
It was, what was it, 2011 or 2012?
Yeah, I think it was 2011.
Okay.
Probably 2012.
2011, because it was in the winter time.
Yeah, it was the end of 2011, I think, going into 2012. Probably.
Yeah, so I was pursuing actually a songwriter career type of thing.
Oh yeah?
Like before then, I was with like the writer of Olivia. I don't know if you remember her from GU.
Oh yeah, Olivia, right. I know who that is. She's from New Jersey.
Yeah, so I was in Jersey, he was in New York. So I was doing that, and I was just kind of browsing on YouTube, and I forgot his name, but he was talking a lot about like pastors and Christianity and how you know, the tithing and all that. So I feel like those were the first few videos I watched.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a character.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I forgot his name too. But, you know, most
Is he still on YouTube?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know.
That would be a long time. Like he would be up there with the stats if he was still doing it.
Oh, yeah,
that was a long.
I don't know, but that was like kind of his niche. Like he would talk about pastors and tithing, how that's nowhere in the Bible as far as like the money part, and how tithing was like vegetables and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, because, you know, I was coming from the Christian church. At that time, I didn't have like a Christian home, because the last 2 Christian churches I was in both kind of fell apart. So the first one was Church of Christ. That was the one with just a cappella music. That's where I honed a lot of my vocal stuff in. I would travel in the tri-state area, do the little music choir. I don't know if it was competitions, but we would do different choirs, and we would travel on these buses together. Of course, I had solos and did all that praise and worship stuff. So Church of Christ, they didn't believe in like instruments for some reason. And so my girlfriend let me come to one of their summer camp thingies. That's how I got into that church. But it dwindled down because I think something was going on with the leadership of that church, and I think it had something to do with money. And so that church kind of dwindled down, where I was like probably the last 10 members of the church.
Y'all were holding the line. He's still a good pastor.
The pastor was 80 something years old, and everybody would be asleep. I know I was asleep. I was nodded off. I was. He was
in a sex scandal.
No, this was the second church I was in. But he was so old, but he was so sweet. He's just an old. It was very tall, lanky pastor, and he was like 80 something years old. Really nice guy. So something was going on with them, with the leadership. So I eventually left. I think I got to college about that time. And then I went to another church, which was like a sector of the college I was in. And that one was like a, I forgot, not Protestant. it was like non-denominational. Like it was like this new thing. And so I was a part of that church. And then the pastor there, he was young. He was probably in his 30s. And then, long story short, he was in some scandals, some sexual scandals, with the women that were helping him and stuff. So I left there. So after that, I was like, I prayed to the Most High. I remembered the day I was on my knees. I prayed to the Most High. I said, I'm not going to none of your churches anymore until you show me what church you want me to go to. I remember that day. I was in my room. Me and my brother and sister, we all shared one room in East Orange, New Jersey. And I prayed, and I feel like months later, not even like maybe 2 months or a month, I would stumble on that dude's YouTube videos about pastors and tithing, and then I found another video about pagan holidays. And this was another sect, and they looked like they had like garments on and everything. I don't think they had like head wraps, but it was two men. They were teaching, not the one that we met each other at. It was a different one. So they started talking about pagan holidays, and that just blew my mind because I was very big on Christmas and Valentine's Day and all that stuff. And they were just kind of breaking down how that has nothing to do with the Most High God or Christ. And so I said, oh, wow. And I just kind of blew my mind. And that was the starting point. And then it got me to, how the algorithm starts showing you videos like that.
Right.
And then it showed me a video that I came to find out that he was the editor of.
Right. Yeah, I remember you told me.
For this particular congregation that I started going to, which Most High opened up my eyes to the truth of keeping God's laws.
Which was the congregation I was a part of at
Yes.
the time. Okay.
Keeping God's laws in the faith of Christ. And so that's when those people in that congregation was really honed in on keeping God's laws. That's a whole story in itself. You may see some videos somewhere on YouTube about my husband explaining on how we're no longer a part of that congregation. But, God's people are not perfect. And we went through some things with that one. But the first day I went to that particular congregation, I got lost because it was in New York. It was in New York. I went by myself, took the train. It was in the Bronx.
Yep.
That's where
The
he
South
was
Bronx.
born and raised.
Yep.
And I got lost. So I called the number that was on the screen of the video. And this one guy answered. He was a deacon at that congregation. And he was like, oh, don't worry. He's going to get someone to come get you and find you. Because I was lost. I was just walking around.
I think he was at work at the time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was his go-to for everything.
And he called you?
Yeah, he called me.
What did he say?
He was like, this girl's going over there. She's real, what was the word he used? She's real bashful and she seems sweet. He was nervous. He was scared that you would get robbed or something.
Oh.
Yeah, so he didn't want you like wandering around, not knowing anything. So I felt like, oh, snap. I gotta hurry. I gotta find somebody to take me. And I got my cousin who had a car, and I think you was at the wrong train station. And then you told me what street you was on, and we jumped in the car and went and got you. Yeah.
But when didn't you call me too?
I called you when I got in the car because he had texted me a number, and then I called you just to confirm where you was, so we don't miss you or whatever.
And his voice was so like I knew him. Familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your voice was so.
I remember I said the same thing about you. Like, when you call somebody and they have a very familiar voice, you're like, damn, I spoke to this person before, but where? And that became kind of like the thing. Like, so I as soon as I got off the phone, my cousin was like, oh, there's a girl you interested in? I was like, what? Nah, bro, we picking this girl. I don't know this girl from nowhere. I don't know her from nobody. Like, I just said her voice was familiar. And, yeah, and then we went and got you.
Yeah, and then I got in the car, which I was in like a truck, right?
Yeah, he had like a SUV. Damn, the phone's blowing up right now. Somebody's speeding in one of the cars. So all the times they could start, they have to start right now speeding to where the phones are gonna blow up.
Yes. We run a rental car business, all praise to the
Yeah.
Most High, so we get alerts when they're
Speeding.
driving reckless.
This person's doing 93 miles an hour right now in the Ultima.
Oh, Lord.
Satan's like, go fast.
But yeah, got in the car, using the back seat, and your cousin was driving, and then the other guy was in the passenger seat. And you had this Kango hat on.
I did, right? With like a leather jacket.
And
I think
a
I
leather
remember.
jacket.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
No,
Papi chulo.
When it's funny, when she got in the car, I was like, nope, I do not know this lady. Never seen her before in my life. So that kind of like took care of the whole do I know her? Have I ever seen her somewhere? This thing's making a weird noise.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, do I know her? Have I ever seen? Yeah. Have I ever seen her from somewhere? And I was like, nah, I never met this lady before in my life. So that was kind of it. And yeah, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, that Kango hat. I came in, I wasn't lusting after you or anything, but I said, okay, he looks nice. He looks nice, Papi Chulo. And so, in my head, I didn't say nothing. I was just coming in the truth. But, yeah, and he was just the sweetest thing. He was so kind to me. Actually, all the brothers were, kind of cool, but he stood out, of course. And
mind you, that's just how I am with sisters.
He's like that with every single.
I'm not
every single sister. Every single.
I care about my sisters, and yeah, this is how I am. I've been like that since I was a kid. College. I've always been what my aunt used to call a ladies' man. But I was raised by nothing but women. Absent no men in my life really, except for like an uncle that was in and out of jail, and a young uncle who was always running the streets, and that was it. Any male figures I had were people who hung out in corners and in the projects. That was that. So yeah, it was just how I was. So I'm not saying that like,
like our moment wasn't special.
Yeah, I'm just saying that that's just, I'm not like every single sister. I'm like, hey.
No. A few like months down, I just realized that's the caliber of man he is. So I was like, okay, and he set the tone for the men that were there. So I said, okay, I felt safe because I'm coming by myself. I'm coming to this congregation, and what was it? Did I have a Bible? I didn't have the Apocrypha.
That was funny.
Of course, I didn't have the Apocrypha, and so you let me. You handed me a
I
Bible.
asked you. I found you a seat. I think I sat you next to sisters that I know are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because women could be judgmental, and you were coming in. You didn't have no fringes on, and so I didn't want him to start like, why are your fringes? Why are you not wearing fringes? You gotta keep. I didn't want him to do that to you, so I was like, let me sit her over here next to these more mature women who would probably not, stress her like that. And then I asked you, I was like, you have a Bible? Because I saw you just sat there, and I'm looking at you. I'm like, I walked away, and she just sat there. I don't like we're in the middle of a Bible study. You got to follow with the scriptures. So I asked her if she had a Bible, and she was like, nah. So I went to the back. I got her like this cheap Bible that we used to buy. It was like a $12 Bible, but it was paperback, real thick, but it had the Apocrypha in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave her the Bible, and then I went about my business and, kept doing other stuff that I had to do there.
I was like, okay, thank you. And mind you, I'm coming from Christian churches. Like even after I left the ones that I was like they were like kind of my home churches, I would just, kind of church hop. And if someone invited me to their church, I would go. And a lot of these churches I would go to, they would hand you a Bible, and then you could keep it. And
it was like
it was like a smaller Bible that you can keep.
Little cheapy ones with the...
Yeah, it was just, and they would just hand them out and say you could keep it. So I was like, okay. So in my mind, I'm like, thinking, oh, okay, I could just take this one. I was so naive. But I kept the Bible, and it was time to go. No, before it was time to go, this is going into how we met. So before it was time to go, you guys sold like dinner, and I didn't have cash.
Really?
Yeah, y'all was selling dinners and stuff after class. So,
damn, this person's doing 96.
Oh, they're fine. 96 Ultima.
Probably coming back from Houston or something. I'm sorry, I mean. You were
oh
saying.
Yeah, you had to. They were selling dinners. So I didn't have cash, so I had to go to an ATM.
Right. I remember that, and it was cold outside, and you weren't really like, you didn't come with like.
I had like a cardigan. It was thin.
You came light because you came during the day when it was still warm,
and then it got
cold at night, and you looked really cold. You was walking. You know when a woman's cold when they walk tight. So I saw her walking like that, and me, I'm always hot. So I took off I was like, here, take my jacket. I gave her my leather coat, put it on her, and walked her to the ATM. That's funny.
That's fine, honey. And so, yeah, I just thought every move they made was very godly, very kind, and he again set the tone for all the brothers. But I came to find out, not everybody's like my husband, and so. But he did put the jacket over me. I was like, oh, that's nice. So we went to the ATM, which was down the street at the store, got the funds, and then I came back, ate dinner with everybody. Then it was time to go. And you lived in New York, but I lived in Jersey. So they got this other brother that lived in Jersey to take me to the train stop that would take me back to Jersey safely. So he was able to do that. And then he noticed I had the Bible in my hand.
He did?
Yes.
Oh,
he was like, is that your Bible? I was like, no, Bezaleel gave it to me.
And he didn't say nothing?
And he was like, I don't think you're supposed to take that. I was like,
so he did tell you.
Yeah, he did mention it. And I was like, really? And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, you could just bring it back next time. And so that's when
Well, I remember text you and I asked you about the Bible and you said, oh, thank you for the Bible. And then I responded in a text and I said, thou shalt not steal.
Oh, maybe he didn't say. That was you who said to bring it back.
Yeah, so what happened was the next day, brother called me.
Oh my gosh.
Brother called me and he was like, hey, we're missing a Bible in the school. And so I said, oh, the sister still has it. I gave her, she must have took it with her. So I thought it would be cute. Like if I just wanted to mess with her. I was like, sis, you still got the Bible? And she texted me back, yeah. And I texted just one line. I said, thou shalt not steal. And I didn't say nothing after that. I think that kind of broke the ice to where after that, you started asking me questions. Cause I told you, hey, if you have any questions, just let me know. And you had questions. You had questions every day. Every day you had a question. And I didn't mind it at all because, you don't really meet sisters like that. A lot of sisters come around, they might have an agenda or maybe, it was just, I never really seen a sister that was that adamant to really sincerely understand what the Bible's saying, to, really want to do what the Bible says, get close to God. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was refreshing to be able to speak to somebody that was actually sincerely looking for it, to do it with no questions asked, and not in a gullible way, but more of like, oh, if that's what it says, that's what I'm going to do. And so I thought that was really, really good. That's what really led me to becoming interested in, because I had just been going through, a failed relationship and a marriage, and I was on my own. It had been like a good 2 years, and I was just done with women at that time. I was just like, I'm gonna just be like Paul.
I said the same thing. We had the same story.
Yeah, I was done. I was just focused on the word and whatever it was I was doing at the time with work and editing videos and filming, and I just was occupying my time with as much stuff as I could do. And I was just tired of the interactions I was having with sisters and their rebellious nature. Like they'll want to hear about the Lord and they hear the history and it's so intriguing and it's undeniable. But then you show them Deuteronomy 22:5, I think, where it says, a woman is not to wear that which pertaineth unto a man. And they lose it because you're telling them they can't wear pants no more. So yeah, it's funny. Right before I was talking to you, I had reconnected with a sister I grew up with in PR, and we were talking for like a good 3 weeks. Just and I was going over scriptures of her, expounding on the history of Puerto Rico and the correlation with the scriptures and the laws and everything like that. And her whole thing was like, let's get married, because we used to like each other when we were younger. And I was like, well, learn this first, because you need to know what this is saying. And I remember going over, we had a back and forth about pants. And in the middle of the back and forth, she crashed her car.
Wow.
While we were talking. She got into a car. Yeah, she got into a car accident.
Okay.
I literally, the phone hung up. I didn't hear from that lady for like, I think 2 or 3 months. And then she called me back and told me.
She must have been riled up to be.
Yeah, and told me what happened and whatever. And then, she was still wanting to argue. And I was just, we hung up and I was like, I'm done. I'm not even entertaining no sisters at all. And you wasn't the only sister I was helping. Remember, there was another sister that I was helping her too. I helped her move out of Hawaii down to New York with her son. I helped her get an apartment. I had to pull my Latino strings and talk to the super, hey, mano, hey. Oh. And so, she wasn't the only sister I was being a big brother to at the time. But you were the most sincere one, though, I'll tell you that. You was the one that was the most sincere, looking to do things according to what the scriptures say. Yeah.
That was history from there. I kept coming to that congregation. I remember that day you called about the Bible. I was at the bus stop on my way to work. I was like, oh, Lord. But yeah, that's when I figured out your humor too, because I didn't really know that you were that funny.
Thou shalt not steal. I know you got nervous.
I was like, oh, Lord.
Right.
I'm already in trouble with these people.
But did you ever return the Bible?
Yes. Wait, I think somebody said I could keep it.
Yeah, I think
I bought it or something.
No, I think in the end we was like, just keep it, because I know you didn't. I didn't want to leave you empty-handed, so we were just like, keep it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you didn't have anything.
That was my first. That was my first Bible. I still have that Bible. It's all ripped up.
You still got that?
Mm-hmm. It's downstairs in the bookshelf.
Oh, I didn't know
it's
that.
Probably in like a Ziploc.
Yeah, my old Bible's in a Ziploc too, falling apart.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, that was a nutshell of how Most High woke us up, huh?
Yeah.
What was the next?
So what was the next thing? Who introduced you and what was your initial reaction? We kind of spoke about that already.
Mm-hmm.
How did it transform your relationship? How did it transform our relationship? I mean, I would say initially it was more like a brother-sister thing. Like, I'm just trying to be a brother. I mean, I think at the time there was a guy you were talking to at your job, and you had concerns about you're trying to change and keep the commandments, and he's trying to pursue you, and you don't know what to do. And I think I told you, get him to come to the lessons. I said, because if you want a relationship, it's better if you learn together. Versus you learn and grow and he's still wherever he was at, stagnant, and then it's not going to be a compatible thing. So I was telling her to bring him, and you told me after a while he was like, nah, I don't think so. And then me and you just kept talking. It was like every day, Q&As, and then we would talk on the phone, and we just would talk for a long time, and I never forget it. So I had I was enjoying our conversations, right? I was really enjoying the conversations.
Me too.
And I think at one point you asked me about my previous relationship. And I just stopped you. I was like, you was asking me a bunch. It wasn't one question. You asked me several questions, and you wasn't changing the subject. So I was like, okay, I'm not, I know women. I've been around them for a long time. So I just straight up asked you. I cut through all the BS, and I said, are you interested in me, sis? And you paused. You gave a long pause. And then you was like, yeah. And I remember I told you, I said, it's okay. You can relax. I'm interested in you too. I think you're a very a very nice sister, and I wouldn't mind getting to know you as well. And then from there was kind of the rest was history. We just I think we revved up the conversating, and every day going to bed late, talking. I'm going to work late every day because we would stay up till like
I'd call you on my lunch breaks.
right 3, 4 in the morning, and it was a mutual thing. It wasn't like one of those where, oh, I don't, because when people start talking, people get real sensitive, and it's like, oh, why didn't you call me, or I text you and you didn't respond. It was like I didn't have to worry about none of that. If I communicated with you, you communicated back. If you communicated with me, I communicated back. It was like a ping pong, and we just, it was like a natural thing. And I think it got to a point where we were just getting to know each other. It wasn't like we were like betrothed or nothing like that. It was more like getting to know you. And I remember it got to a point for me where I was like, I know there's other brothers asking me about you, and I didn't want to tell them that me and you were, talking on a regular.
Yeah, 2 of them came up.
Yeah. So, and I knew them, and I was like, and I'm getting to know you.
One of them asked me to the movies, remember?
Right. And I'm getting to know you, nope. And I know them, and my mind was like uncomfortable because I'm like, these men ain't gonna know, you know what I'm saying? They're not gonna treat her right, and she's a good woman. And I had that dilemma, and I spoke to somebody, and they were like, well, if you can't see her with nobody else, and your friendship has reached a certain point, where it's like, where do you go from here? Then that means you need to follow up with a relationship. And so I was like, okay, because it was the first time I was feeling that way, because I'm in the truth. Here we go with the things again. Really I tell you, they were not speeding before as soon as we hit record, these people now doing 100 miles an hour on the highway. Anyway, and it was from that point on where I knew I was like, okay, well, I'm the type of person where it's like, when I know I want to do something, I just go headlong and do it.
That's one thing I loved about you, and I still love about you. Not past tense. But when he said something, like, he would follow through. And I thought that was a really beautiful characteristic of you.
Yeah, so from then on, I knew. I was like, yeah, I'm going to wife her. I'm going to marry this girl. And that was it. And then I think shortly after that, by I think 2015, we tied the knot. After I settled some previous, things and paperwork I had to take care of that I wasn't really concerned about because I was just so focused on what I was doing. And yeah, and then we got married, and it's been fun ever since. Like, it hasn't been a dull moment, I think. No. So let's see, another question. How did it transform your relationship? Well, she saved me from being a dude in the He-Man Woman Hater Club.
Lord, I was like,
yeah, because in my mind, I was like, man, Solomon was right. He said, out of 1,000, not one. So, I was really convinced, like, yo, all these sisters there's some wickedness in them all, and then I just don't want no part of it. And but I'm a family man. I wanted to have a family, so I didn't want to be alone. So yeah, you helped change my perspective on sisters, period. Because I know if you was like that, I know there's other women like that out there. So I was like, okay, there's hope. There's hope with these sisters.
I felt the same because there was like I don't want to say his name, but there was this guy I was interested in, and the dilemma I had with guys, and I was young, so these guys are young too, and they're not thinking about marriage, but you're older than me, and so you're more mature, and you're ready to like settle, and you're a God-fearing man, so you respect marriage. And so the guys I was talking to, they just weren't thinking about that. And so I just really appreciated that you were very, just when you said something, you followed through. You treated me with the utmost kindness and love of God. And I think that's what really settled it for me, because in the world, a guy will say something and then turn and do something else.
Yeah.
And that would really turn me off, and I know that turns a lot of sisters off too. And so just dealing with a more mature, seasoned man really tied the knot for me.
Well, all I know is that at that point you were staying with a friend
Hmm.
because you was having issues with your dad at home.
Yeah, he did.
So
He actually kicked me out.
right.
He actually
So
said,
I went to go
he
visit you.
doesn't recognize me anymore. And this was crazy because me and my dad never had an issue until the Bible came in our lives, in my life. Never. Like, I'm a daddy's girl to the core. And so, he would ask me questions and I would answer them with the scriptures that I knew. I wasn't going to not answer them. And so, that kind of, I guess, rubbed him the wrong way to the point where he was like, yeah, you don't have to stay here. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went to my girlfriend's house, which was in the next town in Newark. And that's where I was.
And I remember I told you, hey, I'm gonna come by and see you because I wanted to see, like, because I know the situation. I wanted to see how you was living with your friend and whatnot. So I remember I went to visit her, and I'm from the South Bronx, right? I'm talking about, like, Brook Ave, Willis Ave, Third Ave, Cypress, right? And I went to go visit her, and I was like, man, this is hood. Like, this is impoverished hood.
I didn't even see
It was
that
just
way.
looked like a ghost town. But it was just so eerie and scary, and every individual that was walking by looked desperate. And I remember going over there, and I was like, man, this was intense coming over here. It was a long walk. The buses wasn't running correctly. And she was like, oh, I come through here all the time. And there was many a nights where she's getting off work and I'm talking with her while, just keeping her company on the phone on her journey home. And when I did that trip, I realized this is what you've been walking through every time I talk to you. You walking through these streets here, like next to a cemetery, and freaking there's no lighting at night, and it was just crazy.
I just keep a smile on my face, so either I'll look crazy or I'll look just very friendly, and people wouldn't bother me.
You start talking to yourself. I told you. You just walking by yourself doing that.
Oh my gosh!
Leave me alone. And nobody's there.
No, I smile at anybody that passed me.
So yeah, I realized, like, if she's gonna be my woman and I'm gonna take her, as my wife, then I better hurry up because Lord forbid I lose her in some crazy situation out there. Like, that was just me thinking the worst. And but all it did was just affirm in me how I felt about her, that I was very concerned about your safety and about you being well taken care of, and not being in that environment, and yeah, and it just affirmed what it was already in me. And so that's when I sped up the pace of our relationship. And I remember I snatched you up out of there.
You sure did.
I literally went and I was like, all right, I'm gonna save up about like 3 checks and I'll have enough to get an apartment. Because at the time I was renting a room from a relative because I didn't need much. It was just me. I had my son on the weekends, and it was cool. I was working, saving up money, trying to figure things out. And I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go get a place, and I'm gonna go get her, and we're gonna start our life. And that's what I did. Yep. She didn't believe me either.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Cause I was done. I told you we had the same story of we're gonna be Paul, and we're gonna just be by ourselves in this truth.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she got to get out of there. Yeah, and then then we got married. So the rest is history. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's about 40 minutes.
That's nice.
And we did all the questions. So
we did.
Yeah, that was all of them. Yeah. What has helped you to grow in the truth together? You wanna talk about that one?
He was very instrumental because you had a lot of knowledge that I didn't have just coming in the truth. So again, like he said, I would ask him questions every chance I got, and he would answer them.
Yeah, your studies went quick. It's like I ran you through the basics. I ran you through a lot of history. I ran you through a lot of the laws and all that stuff. And so it was you really kind of got a speed course with me, because I ran you through a lot of the a lot of the information fast versus you waiting every Saturday to then get something and then try to find a video and then study that. It was like, nah, we're gonna go through this, we're gonna go through that, and every time we was on the phone, we go through like a whole book or something like that.
Yeah, my first class was a chariots class. It
Yeah,
wasn't even like
that's an awkward class to come in on.
But I watched so many of the videos that I also got a lot of the basics and the milk too. So, but yeah.
So what has helped you grow in the truth? I would say what has helped us grow is our fear of God, our sincerity to what the Bible says, because as individuals, we can have issues and moments of, disagreements and problems. But at the end of the day, we know that we are obligated to what the Bible says, to these laws, statutes, and commandments that are beyond us. And to go against that is to jeopardize your day of judgment with the Lord. So, the fear of God is, scripture says the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, and a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So when you're doing the commandments and you're growing in your wisdom and you fear the Lord, you're gonna, you're going to refrain yourself from certain things. You're going to know that, okay, I can get mad, but you know what, I still have these obligations. I still have an obligation to the law. I still have an obligation to God. I have an obligation to my wife. And the Bible is the thing that helps us grow and to stay together. Really.
Definitely the glue.
Yep, that is the foundation. So I hope you guys get something from this and it inspires you to go fall in love and take the woman you're interested in seriously and make your moves.
Come on, brother, make that move.
And focus on being happy.
School too, so I'm glad that you made the first move, because I was like, I'm gonna wait till he comes. So yes, all praises.
All right, thanks for joining us, y'all. We'll see you again on the next episode. Shalom.
Shalom.